Hey y'all, it's Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis, and it is the first week of September. The world is starting to cool down, at least here in central Texas, and that means that the Catasetums are really starting to spike. In fact, looking at social media, you'll see that a lot of other Catasetums are really starting to spike and put on their show. A lot of the Cycnices are blooming. Fred Clarkiaras will often come into bloom now and then towards the end of the year, as well as some of the Cycnides. There's a lot going on in terms of spikes, actual blooms, and still plenty of season left to grow. So what I want to do is do a quick tour of the Catasetum workspace, or rather my Catasetum bench, and then just do a quick update. Show some of the spikes. I've got Catasetum matagrossoense blooming, so I'll show you that. That is a very uncommon species here in the US. And do a quick update of some of my more mite-ravaged Catasetums. But let's get the camera turned around and look at some plants. Alright, so the Catasetum bench is right there, and that has most of them, although there's a few other ones scattered around the collection. But as you can see, these are pretty much, in full growth mode. Lots and lots of leaves. A few of them, there's some more shriveled bulbs than I'm typically used to this time of year. I'm not entirely sure why. There could be the move, the multiple moves, the shade for the first part of the year, the extreme heat that we had this summer, even by Texas standards, or, using tap water instead of rainwater. I'm not entirely sure, but most of the plants are doing well, or it could even be the mites that really took over. But so you can see a bunch of these are blooming, including this one here. This is Catasetum Black Knight with a kind of a small spike, actually. The spike itself is fairly long, but there aren't that many blooms this time. And you can see who else is spiking here. Let's see, the Catasetum matagrossoense. This is a cool one. This one looks like a whole bunch of little birds in flight, or maybe bugs in flight. As you can see, the mosquitoes flying around there. But this is a really cool one. This is a small plant. I say a small plant, a small statured plant. You can see the mites hit that leaf pretty hard. And they don't really seem to get a whole lot bigger than this bulb here. I suspect with the mites chewing things up. You can see the mite damage here on this leaf. That is also the matagrossoense, so the newest bulb won't be that large this year, but it put down a good root system, and that's really a lot of what matters. And then of course it's blooming. I'm hoping that this one will be like so many other Catasetums that bloom multiple times per year when they get larger. This was an import that I got, I think, from Bella Vista many years ago. Let me see. Yeah. BV Orchids, Bella Vista in Brazil. And it's done really well for me over the years, even this year, which has been difficult. I was hoping to get a bloom spike from this Catasetum lucis, or lucis, I'm going to say lucis. This is a Catasetum that I got awarded some years ago. It's spiking with two sad little spikes. Again, multiple reasons why they're not great. This bud here kind of fell off. Looks like it's got some mechanical damage from being bumped in the wind on some of the other plants. Got another large spike here. I believe this is Fong Sing. Of course, I got Fong Sing from William Green many years ago, so this should be a really nice bloom. Big, giant red flowers on a huge, long spike. I only see one inflorescence this year, so it's kind of disappointing compared to other years where I've gotten multiple spikes. And that is about it for now. It's still pretty early in my Catasetum blooming season. I'll typically get more in a month or two, more spikes. And then finally I want to highlight 4 more plants. I'll start with the 2 mite-ravaged ones I showed in an earlier video. This is the one that I got from from William Green, Mormodia Jumbo World, and he named it Kanazawa after he got it awarded. You can see that there is still some chlorophyll left in the leaves, so I might get a decent bulb this year, but nowhere near as nice as it should be on, as you can see on previous blooms there. So it's still chugging along. This is a Mormodes. This was the second worst hit of the 3 plants that I got last year. This one is still okay. I cannot imagine getting a much larger bulb than this. Maybe it'll start to put out a new growth. I'm not sure. Like I said, there's still plenty of growing season left. We'll see. I'm not super optimistic, but I'm not super pessimistic. And then I had another Mormodes that just died, straight up rotted last year. Last week. I tossed it finally, and that was the worst hit of them all, and all of the leaves were worse off than this one from the mites. So this is kind of the middle one. This one is that Cycnices that I imported from Redlands last year that was mislabeled and turns out to be much, much rarer than was originally thought. I had kind of tossed this one in here with this bulbophyllum as sort of a last-ditch method to keep it alive. It just, I had it potted up and then found that the roots were wiggling. The whole plant was wiggling. I thought I had lashed it down, but I hadn't. The growth didn't do anything for about 2 months and then suddenly started growing, so I'm pretty excited for this to perk up and get maybe a bloom spike this year. Who knows? As long as I keep this one in a place where it can come back and bounce back next year, I'll be happy. And finally, this was another awkwardly growing Cycnices. This is Cycnices cooperi. As you can see, the new growths started on the side of the plant, so I potted it up sideways, and it's doing really well. I'll probably get a bloom spike on each plant or on each new growth, which is great. So I'm excited to see that. Probably about halfway done growing. Probably won't get as tall as this most recent bulb here. Again, for all the reasons that I discussed earlier. But this one's cranking along, doing really nicely, so I'm happy with that. And the roots on this one aren't super great, but the roots coming from this one are really good. And that's really what matters. All you need, got some water there, all you need is really one of these 2 growths to put out some new roots. And even then I see at least a couple of roots from this one did make it into the media before the world got too hot and kind of scorched the tips. Anyway, have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.